This is the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla in the Narrowgate Security Agency studios.
A new commander-in-chief who will never leave our men behind. A new commander-in-chief, one who will never lie to the families of the fallen.
Families for Trump. The GOP presidential candidate getting huge support from those concerned about their families. Today, we have an expert on that matter. Carla Addesi is here to talk all about Trump's appeal. The family expert, children's book author, and radio host says Trump is the right choice for families, women, Christians, and all Americans. Carla Addesi coming up on the Palin Update. While the faux outrage on Donald Trump's comments on a tape from over a decade ago grabs headlines, Sarah Palin puts it all in perspective. Palin defends the remarkable record of the great Clarence Thomas, and the governor gives her thoughts after a Pence punch knocks out Creepy Kane in the vice presidential debate. A brand new installment of Liberty and Legacy with Tamara Colbert is on the way from Texas. Sarah Steelman is on assignment. Welcome to the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. The Palin Update is sponsored by Narrowgate Security Agency. Learn more at narrowgate.com. We are so happy to have Carla Addesi on the show today. She is an amazingly talented radio host and author, a wife, and a Mama Grizzly of 3. She's also a Christian patriot. Carla, fighting hard for the Trump-Pence ticket in the great state of Pennsylvania. She is a children's author, a radio host, and a family expert. We're so happy to have Carla Addesi with us today on the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. Carla, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me today, Kevin.
Now, Carla, Donald Trump attacked from all ends over this past week regarding comments he made 11 years ago, probably something Hillary had waiting, and, very coincidental, I'd say not, that it comes out right during the WikiLeaks situation and everything else and ahead of the debate from this past weekend. But I want to ask you, because we're hearing things from liberals, from the media, from Hollywood, from some Republicans, quote-unquote Republicans, Paul Ryan, Fiorina, and others, that this is just the worst thing that's ever happened, another situation where Donald Trump is under attack. I want to ask you, and let's be clear again to folks who Carla is. She is a woman. She is a mother. She is a family expert. She is a Christian. Is Donald Trump the best candidate for president for families in America?
I still believe that Donald Trump is the number one choice for every family in Pennsylvania and the United States. Firstly, this is something that happened 11 years ago. If this is the best that the Hillary campaign can dig up on Donald Trump, I'm really not concerned or worried. Again, this is something that happened 11 years ago. Did you watch his apology or asking for forgiveness, the 2-minute clip that's going all over Facebook and Twitter? I woke up to that this morning at 6:30. I thought that it was very sincere, very genuine. Which of us has not done something foolish in our past? And I think as Christians, the biggest thing that we can do is show grace, show mercy, and show forgiveness in these situations. And he says that he really has changed on this campaign trail. And again, I would say to every woman, and every family who's listening, that you need to look at his children, his daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, that I had the pleasure of meeting last week. She loves her father-in-law so much and respects him so much as a man and as a father, that she actually took off 2 months from work just to go around and campaign for him. She only has rave reviews for him. And we also have to remember that as families, I'm really more concerned about 33,000 emails that were lost by Hillary, and she says that it's just a mistake or an accident. I'm really concerned about the 4 patriots in Benghazi that she refuses to take any culpability for. Those are my real concerns. I want safety for my family. I want security for my family. I want a secure border. I like that Trump calls out ISIS, that they are our enemy. I'm tired of Hillary and her cronies calling them things like workplace violence, or that guns are the problem. So for families and women who are listening, Donald Trump is on our team.
Words over deeds, and people are taking the side of, liberals and Hillary Clinton and the media trying to push this nonsense. So Donald Trump says something that he thinks is private 11 years ago, nonsensical, means absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things. And then, as you mentioned, here is a woman leaving 4 Americans in Benghazi, the server. But you want to talk about things that she's trying to attack Donald Trump on. Look at the man she's married to,
Correct.
that she's defended for years. And, people bring up Lewinsky and Jones and Flowers, and it's just ridiculous that the list goes on and on and on. But Juanita Broderick, who's been on this program multiple times, has alleged rape against Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Rape. And that Hillary Clinton
and I believe it.
has helped cover her up. All right, let's look who
They've
Juanita
gotten
is,
away
right?
with murder.
She is a
They've
woman.
gotten away with murder. Of course they're going to get away with rape.
Juanita, a woman in her 70s now, a Christian grandmother. She's looking for no money. Why would you lie about something so disgusting? Yet people, remember, look who's working for Hillary Clinton. Her right-hand woman is Anthony Weiner's wife, a woman who's looked the other way with this craziness too. And
these are terrible role models for our little girls. Terrible role models for our little girls. When Hillary Clinton tries to act motherly or grandmotherly, it's really frightening to me. She is not a role model. I think it's marvelous that we finally have a woman who has crashed the ceiling and is running for president of the United States. However, at what cost, Kevin? At what cost? She's a terrible role model in that she's a liar, she's a murderess, she's a cheat, she's dishonest, she's disingenuous. These are not characteristics that I want in myself as a woman or in my 3 little girls that I'm raising.
These people that are all of a sudden so offended by certain language are the same people that, are the aficionados of Lena Dunham or Sarah Silverman or Bill Maher or all these other far-left commentators who say the most disgusting things in the world about women all the time.
Correct.
And so it's very selective. Let's talk about our quote-unquote Republican friends, the sanctimonious squad, as I'd like to call them, and Paul Ryan leading the way there, Carly Fiorina, the 2-second running mate of Ted Cruz. Talk about sour grapes. I mean, it's so transparent, or they're not transparent, but it's so easy to see what they're doing here, speaking out against Mr. Trump. Same thing with Mitt Romney before all of this. It looks like they wanted the spotlight and they didn't get it. And because they're, sore losers, we're going to pile up on Donald Trump, who, beat 16 people fair and square.
And I agree with you. I saw that Carly tweeted out that he needs to step down and let Pence step into his place, which is absolute ignorance on her part. And, of course, she was getting so much hate tweeted back to her for that ridiculous comment that she made. Because, indeed, just as you said, Kevin, this is a man who beat out 16 people to very fairly win. The American people want Donald Trump. We want him because he is not a career politician. I get throw up in the back of my throat just saying career politician. I'm so tired of all of that.
Carla, whenever I refer to Governor Palin as a politician, I step back for a minute and I apologize because it's become that awful word. But you're right. You're absolutely right. You look at the way this has been put out there and portrayed. If this is her silver bullet, she's done, because this is what you have on Donald Trump. I mean, we're talking about real issues here, real issues that concern us, whether it be ISIS, whether it be safety, whether it be our borders, whether it be the economy, whether it be life, whether it be our right to bear arms. I mean, what is this? And meantime, these same people, what are they doing after they complain about Donald Trump? They're going and putting their Kobe Bryant jersey on and listening to Bill Cosby CDs and rooting for Ben Roethlisberger and reminiscing about the Clintons. I mean, it's so hypocritical.
And don't forget they're sitting in front of the Kardashians, which is the most disgusting, offensive show for every woman. And you look at Holly Weird in California. They are weirdos. Holly Weird, they are the worst image for women. They have it all backwards. And I'm just shocked and flabbergasted that they're being so prudish, suddenly. And I agree with you. If this is the best that they have coming up against Trump, it's very little, and we really could care less, and we're getting very fatigued and tired that they are not addressing the real issues. They're using this as a distraction,
Sure.
and their little minions are getting distracted, but I think more and more people are getting on the Trump train with this ridiculousness that's happening on the other side. And something else that we talked about is that the liberal progressive movement is not supporting women and little girls and even little boys or family values. Let's talk about little boys that identify as little girls that they want to have using my bathroom, my locker room, at my tennis club, at Ann Taylor where I shop. I feel uncomfortable with that. I am more concerned about that point of view than what Trump said 11 years ago.
Vice President Joe Biden, quote, "Such behavior is an abuse of power. It's not lewd. It's sexual assault," unquote. So Joe Biden, who gropes every woman that comes up to him at campaign rallies, has just said that Donald Trump, that is sexual assault. You are supporting a woman who has backed a sexual predator. But Donald Trump said something off color 11 years ago. This is your vice president talking, Carla.
Well, it's frightening to me. What's even more frightening is that we might, people are even considering that Cain might be the next vice president. That's more frightening to me. I'm more frightened of Cain than I am of Hillary.
Yeah.
But you know something that I've been sharing with a lot of Christian families because they are struggling with, do I vote for Trump? Do I abstain? Do I sit home? Do I vote for Johnson, who's an independent? And I think that in reality, they need to vote for Donald Trump because he has shown wisdom in choosing Pence as his running mate. Enormous amount of wisdom there. Enormous amount of wisdom in choosing Kellyanne Conway, who's a huge pro-lifer, pro-family girl. Strong woman, right? Again,
Yep.
Here's Trump choosing a strong woman and placing her in a very respectable position. And Kellyanne hasn't come out and said anything that he is speaking against her. Also, just pushing families, Christian families, conservative families, to understand that there's people behind Trump like Dr. Ben Carson, Huckabee, Sarah Palin, your girl, my girl. We have Liberty University behind him. We have Huckabee, Santorum. These are people that I personally respect. They're family people. And I think that we need to look and say, wow, Franklin Graham is behind. James Dobson is behind Donald Trump.
The list goes on, and you name
Correct.
some of the top dogs, and it's very impressive. But you're right. I hear it too. I hear it from Christians too. And you know, Supreme Court. I try to talk to them about the Supreme Court. I try to talk to them about the unborn. I mean, there's a lot of ways to try to do this. I mean, listen, at the very least, I say, look, give the man a shot. You got 4 years. You're going to have a better Supreme Court than Hillary Clinton, and you could talk about things then. I have the utmost confidence in Mr. Trump. I think he's going to be great, and I think this is a candidate that we're very enthusiastic about. But for those who, are still, talking about these things, it's great to have a woman like you, Carla, out there talking to people. Now, you're a radio host as well, a host in Philadelphia. Your Family Matters, the name of the program, and also an author who writes books for kids. I want to talk about that a little bit with you. And apparently, Sarah Palin inspired you a little bit along the way?
Yes, Sarah Palin inspired me. Truly, she was the first woman in government that I said, wow, she's an amazing mother. She has 5 children. One has Down syndrome, and she loves that child immensely. As we all know, I have friends with that have families with Down children syndrome, and we believe that we're the blessing to them, but in fact, they are the blessing to everyone that surrounds them.
Yes.
And I thought, gosh, what can I do more? And I thought, I need to write a book to my little girls on why we vote the way that we do, why conservative principles really, really work. And listen, I'm an occupational therapy major. That's what I have my master's degree in. But I'll tell you what, when you get inspired and passionate about something, I began studying how to write children's books. I was up until all hours at night. You know what that's like, Kevin. And I started digging up these amazing quotes that our founding fathers said. President George Washington said, it's impossible to rightly govern a nation without God and the Bible. We had President John Adams. Our Constitution was made for a moral, religious people. It's wholly inadequate to the government of any other. And I can certainly go on and on and on. And when I started digging, I thought, my goodness, and I also coupled the Bible with it too, because as a Christian woman, I truly want to train up my children that everything that we're doing is surrounded with God. I have Christians that say to me, Carla, God's not in voting, to which I respond, oh my goodness, there's three institutions that God created. The first one was marriage with Adam and Eve in the garden. The second was government, right, in the Old Testament with Israel. And then third one is the church in the New Testament. What do you mean? God's the creator of government. And so just like we teach our children to marry wisely and eat wisely and manage their time wisely, why in the world would we not teach them also to vote wisely by the time that they're 18 years old? So Julia Learns How to Vote Wisely is actually, this is the season to be reading this book to your children. It is for ages 5 to 10 years old, and I just picked 3 points. Listen, I could have chosen 100 points to put in this, but it has to be 600 words or less for 5 to 10-year-olds. But I, of course, say that we absolutely have to be voting for a candidate that is pro-life. And with Pence, we have a 100% pro-life voting record. Trump-Pence have the endorsement of Susan B. Anthony List. They also have the endorsement of Family Research Council, James Dobson. We look at Hillary and Kane. They have the endorsement of Planned Parenthood and NARAL. I mean, end of discussion, correct?
That's it.
Every Christian should be running to the polls to vote for Trump-Pence, just with that being said. But then I also address in my book that, we work for our money. We do not work for our things like houses, education, cars, food. We do not expect to be given anything for free. There's a Bible verse that is in my book that talks about how if you do not work, you do not eat. I mean, that's really, really apparent. At the same time, of course, I'm not talking about people that fall on hard times. I personally believe that Christians and conservatives are the most generous people in the world. I mean, the United States of America is one of the most generous countries, and I believe it's because we've been founded upon Judeo-Christian values. So that is what Julia Learns How to Vote Wisely is all about. And there's coloring books with every one of my books because I believe that when you partner a book that you read to your child with a coloring book, Kevin, it really compounds the learning that we're trying to teach our kids. And when I started writing these books for my girls, Kevin, they were 11, 9, and 7. And guess what? Now they're 15, 13, and 11. My oldest two are both going to be able to vote in the next election in 2020. And guess what? They're going to be ready. They're going to be ready.
Well, that's great. They're going to be ready to reelect President Trump.
Correct. Or Donald Jr. or Ivanka or, any one of them. Eric.
Yeah. And perhaps perhaps in
Pence.
2024 we'll look at a Palin situation, and then actually have a real woman running for president, which would be wonderful.
A real woman, that's right.
This is great, and I told my daughter who's 8 all about your books already, and she's pumped. So we're looking forward to taking a look at them. How can people get your books and find out more about them and about your show?
They can go to carladedesi.com. I'm also on Facebook at Carla Addesi, and I'm at Twitter at Carla Addesi, and everything is on Amazon at Carla Addesi. So just plug into a Google search for Carla Addesi, and everything will pop up. You know what's funny about my books is that, and I did write them for children for this reason, I thought there's going to be some adults that don't want to pick up a voting book, but maybe for their kids they will.
Yeah.
And when they're reading it to them at bedtime, they are also going to learn. And I can't tell you how many parents have come up to me and said, Carla, I had no idea that the Bible talks about protecting life. And as someone that grew up in the church, it's like, oh my gosh, really? You didn't know that? But it's true. A lot of people don't know that the Bible talks about government or what our founding fathers said about God and the United States of America's government. I mean, if you have ever visited with your families, just the Harrisburg Capitol here in Harrisburg in the state of Pennsylvania, they have, I think, 220 Bible verses in our Capitol. And right in the, I believe it's the judicial chambers, they have Moses leading the Israelites out of Egypt because our founding fathers felt as if they were leading the people away from the tyrannical or the slavery of King George. So these are our roots. The progressive liberals would like to deny it. They would like to paint over it, but these are our roots. And there certainly are many parents out there and many families that are choosing to teach their children these conservative, truthful principles.
That's amazing, Carla. That's really great, and I love that point you make about, it's things geared toward children, and here the grown-ups and the moms and dads are picking up things that they may have not known before. That is huge. That is really unbelievable. And don't
you think, Kevin, that I believe the progressive liberals, they don't look at what they want to do this year. They have a 10-year plan, a 20-year plan to do evil, where I tend to think the conservatives are like, oh, yay, we won this battle. Let's all go back to work. But we need to think that the 5-year-olds right now are going to be voting in 13 years, and we want them to vote for truth, righteousness, nobility, and our founding fathers' principles. And we need to start gleaning them when they're 5 and 6 and 7, because that's what the other side is doing.
She is Carla Addesi. Check her out online, carladaddesi.com. That's CarlaDaddesi.com. And your radio program, 1180 WFYL.com/your-family-matters. And Carla, we really appreciate being here. And I tell you, I kid you not, as we're speaking, just got a text from home. Both Trump signs stolen.
Unbelievable. At least they weren't burned.
Yeah, that's about the 10th time. Police have been out many times. Keep putting them back. We've had them replaced with some lewd things over the course of the year too. We were early with our signs right after Governor Palin's endorsement in January. So we're getting there. But again, folks, when the signs are stolen, please put them back up. It's not just about nonsense. It's about your First Amendment right. And
correct.
The tolerant left, Carla, the tolerant left. We appreciate you so much, and let's talk again soon, I hope.
Can I leave you with this story?
Please.
Which just happened on Friday.
Sure.
So my 2 little girls go to public school, and we love our public school. I'm still homeschooling my 11-year-old. Eventually she'll go off. But my girls, for the last month, they wear their Trump shirts to school, and a lot of other children are asking where they got them. And last week, there were actually about 10 other students in school that are wearing their Trump shirts. Nobody's wearing Hillary shirts. So my girls also started handing out Trump Pence stickers that we get at our campaign office. Mm-hmm. And it's gone from giving out 10 a day to 15. All the kids are asking them for them.
Yeah.
They love Trump, which is such an encouragement. So Isabella gives out about 80 stickers on Friday at school. And they're high-fiving, and in the cafeteria, they're chanting Trump, Trump, Trump. And at about 2 o'clock, she gets called down to the dean's office of students. My daughters have never been called down to the dean's office, and Bella was surprised. She wasn't frightened. I have very strong little girls. And Isabella said, hey, what's up? And the dean said, are you the little girl that's handing out all the Trump Pence stickers? She said, yes, I am. The dean said, well, they're offensive to some students, and they're making some students feel terribly, so you're not allowed to do it anymore. But I really am I think it's really adorable that you're campaigning. So my girls, and I pick them up from school at 2:15, they come out, Mom, what are we going to do about this? These are our constitutional rights. They're infringing on our First Amendment rights, which moms and dads listening, this is why it's so vital to teach our children what their rights are.
Absolutely.
Because people want to take them away, Kevin.
That's right.
So a long story short, we shot off a very quick, succinct letter to this dean just stating that our daughter shared with us that you pulled her in and said she's not allowed to hand out these stickers anymore. We know that you must be aware that you're infringing on her constitutional rights, First Amendment rights, and until you can show that your school has a policy that opposes our Constitution, our daughters will be at school next week handing out stickers for Trump and Pence. Thank you very much. So I just am telling you that story because I really
Love
think
it.
that courage breeds courage.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not afraid of the people at school. I'm not afraid of them.
No, and you shouldn't
neither
be.
are my girls.
And at the very least, the fact that your daughters are talking about their constitutional rights at that age is just awesome, and it shows that you're doing a great job. Well, Carla, we appreciate that, and appreciate everything you're doing, and continuing the fight for Mr. Trump and Governor Pence, not only in Pennsylvania, but across the nation. And be sure, again, to check out Carla online. Carla, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Again, that website for much more on Carla Addesi is carlaaddesi.com. After this past week's firestorm that followed after a tape surfaced from 2005 in which Donald Trump said some off-color things, Sarah Palin beautifully blasted the holier-than-thou crowd. Palin writing on Facebook, "Crass heard round the world. Disgusting, shameful, totally disrespectful locker room garbage privately shared between two Hollywood playboys over a decade ago is now made to be the crudeness heard round the world. The old Bush and Trump braggart comments were beyond abhorrent and offensive, though both boys apologized for them. As offensive, however, is media obsession with a very old conversation between non-political figures when we're in a crucial time facing earth-altering shifts in our future. The Supreme Court, international tinderbox relationships, global security, and our entire economy hang in the balance. With the question of what kind of country we will leave our daughters and sons unanswered, I wisely look at today's candidates' positions and what they have accomplished while being well aware there are no perfect candidates. I encourage all to quit putting faith in flawed human beings. Going around media filters, you clearly see one candidate offering a bold vision with solid plans to build a stronger, safer, greater America, while the career politician in the race offers only tired, sad, unsustainable, illogical ways of the past that will leave our children unsafe, broken, and abused. In today's presidential race, it's only telling which candidate participated in cruder past conversations if both candidates' communications were all exposed, but alas, that won't happen. This despite the fact that just one of Hillary Clinton's leaked conversations told us all we needed to know about her respect for a woman's life. Tellingly, there was never an apology for this. And then Governor Palin includes a link which you have to check out. She goes on to say it's undeniable that it's only politics allowing characterization of Trump's old comments as more outrageous and offensive than Hillary's comments, as she's caught on tape gleefully defending a child rapist, laughing behind the victim's back, bragging about her disgusting, shameful, totally crude act in defense of a man's worst perpetration of evil on a little girl. Palin included another link and a photo, all of which can be found on the Mama Grizzly Radio Facebook page. Well, Mike Pence just shined in the vice presidential debate, obliterating the interrupter Tim Kaine. And after the lopsided showdown, Sarah Palin wrote on social media, Kaine isn't able. Palin, also with an astute observation, Pence and Kaine got to sit down during their debate, as did Lieberman and Cheney, Edwards and Cheney, Ryan and Biden. But Palin had to stand during her 2008 clash with Joe Biden, leading the Gov to say, is it that the dudes lucked out and got chairs over the last 20 years of VP debates -1? Want a real test? Try standing in heels for 90 minutes. Hashtag heels on, gloves off. And this past week, Palin commented on a ridiculous situation involving Clarence Thomas. Black conservatives need not apply, asked Palin, adding, those at the Smithsonian's new African American Museum who chose to ignore one of our most honored and accomplished African Americans must hear our concerns and address the inexplicable snub of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. And Palin includes contact information, phone number 202-633-1000, and email nmaahcinfo@si.edu. Palin goes on to say Thomas has fought for equal rights his entire career, including as chair of the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission before being appointed to the highest court in the land. To ignore his good work is to censor his good work. It's rhetorical to ask why this most influential conservative was snubbed, but let's ask anyway. Our silence is complicity. Again, if you want to contact and speak out in favor of Justice Thomas, call 202-633-1000 or email nmaahcinfo@si.edu. To see any of the governor's posts in their entirety, visit Sarah Palin's Facebook page, follow her on Twitter at Sarah Palin USA, and check out sarahpack.com.
Now, the Palin Update with Kevin Scholla presents Liberty and Legacy. Here's Tamara Colbert.
The summer of discontent with our political direction of our nation has turned into a fall crisis. I've been reading as much as possible on today's conservative crisis, and I found an essay by Charles Kessler that I actually heard Glenn Beck talking about, called Trump and the Conservative Cause. It was brilliantly enlightening, but equally frightening. The article said that Trump had aroused more raw political passion than any candidate in recent memory. But Kessler points out that in America, bureaucratic rule has become so pervasive it is no longer clear that government is legitimized by the consent of the governed. Wow. It is difficult to pinpoint exactly when we reach this tipping point, but since Ronald Reagan, our nation has been propelled headlong into an abyss of debt, increasing corruption at the highest levels of the federal government, and leaders who can stand in front of cameras in the American people and lie, tell bold-faced lies that the people know are absolutely and undeniably false. But Kessler continues to assert that the American people have so relinquished the value of their vote that less than 30% of registered voters even cast their vote in elections now. So what has happened is that social, economic, political, and cultural and international interest groups are determining the outcome of elections. You and I should be afraid, very afraid. To remain self-governing, our nation must continue to value the process of freedom through our Republican form of government. And that is placing voting, freedom, and independence at the highest levels of our priority in our own lives. It is apparent we don't. Just look at the fact the Democrat Party cheated Bernie Sanders out of his opportunity. They've chosen a grossly incompetent serial liar and cheater as their presidential nominee. We cannot, though, solely point the finger at progressives for working every single day for almost 100 years to fundamentally transform our nation into a socialist sausage bordering on fascism. While conservatives have been working, enjoying family life, paying taxes, and voting in the right people, we've also let our focus on our civic duty languish in the background as a mere afterthought. Of course, not participating in the lowest levels of precinct, city, and our county politics has also enabled the Democrats to take over town councils, schools, school districts, and the judiciary. Along the way to this fundamental transformation, the educational foundations and teachers' unions have indoctrinated our children into a pseudo-history. I liken this to cheating multiple generations of children out of learning about this blessed and inspired founding of America and the struggles and perseverance that has truly made America the envy of the world. Instead of using history to help our children distinguish themselves among the rest of the world, these teachers, these progressives have programmed our kids to believe the opposite. Thanks to the modern-day Democrat Party, our nation's more divided than in the 1960s when Republicans were working with blacks on civil rights. And yes, I said that correctly. Black history is today what it is, thanks to the heroic efforts of Republicans and Christians in America. But again, this is another lie that the Democrat Party, the party of Jim Crow laws, tear gas, segregation, racial tension, and division, has perpetrated on the American people. It is on full display that with the first black president, Barack Obama has not done one positive thing to elevate a national dialogue about the positive steps that America has taken during its history to provide equal opportunity for all. Instead, the Obamas have chosen to hasten the tensions of race and gender, among other social idiocies, so citizens are actually not as safe. We're more divided, and we're less financially well off than before he took office almost 8 years ago. But it's really our fault too, because no one in conservative leadership dares speak the truth. These feckless Republican leaders have failed to do just that at all epic levels of inconsistency. So Kessler points out that political campaigns have made a science of dividing the electorate into groups and reassembling them as, quote, voting blocks committed to specific policies and issues denominated by the demographic categories themselves. Allow me to translate. It means the Democrat Party demonizes anyone they can in order to shame them into either voting their way or not voting at all. Through fear, intimidation, and the carrot of free stuff, liberals and, of course, rhinos have berated individuality into groupthink. It's amazing. One of the most important topics that Kessler continues to talk about throughout this essay is that character is almost unrecognizable and no longer serves as the means by which the people can determine qualifications for public office of those they don't know personally. As a result, it is difficult to establish the kind of public trust that made it possible to connect people and private behavior or civil society and government. So for you and me, it shows that the inmates are now running the asylum. So what are we going to do about it? I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get Donald Trump elected and begin a painstaking process of turning over the tables, metaphorically, of course, at the federal government level and on down. Is he the perfect candidate? Not even close. Is our American form of government solid? Only solid. If we can do two things: elect Trump as president and move forward toward an Article 5 amending Convention of States. In all seriousness, just merely electing Donald Trump without continuing to work on fixing the structural issues at the federal level will only slow down the ultimate destruction of America. So the only real way for America to lead the world, again, in technology advancement, peace through strength, and being a champion for freedom and self-governance, is to call this Convention of States. It is the only constitutional and true way for us to deal with some of these major issues facing every citizen, such as the massive uncontrollable debt, energy independence, a rogue judiciary, and I mean you, Supreme Court, and you know who I'm talking about. The federal confiscation of our individual rights, of course, the Commerce Clause and the General Welfare Clause as well. In closing, I want to leave you with how Kessler ends his essay because I think it's brilliant. Trump's success revealed that one of our fundamental tasks, a task that he alone addressed when no one else would, is the need for political rule to be reanimated in a way that allows public opinion, understood to arise in the creation of constitutional majorities, to establish the legitimacy of politics, policy, and law in a manner compatible with the rule of law and the common good. That requires revitalizing the meaning of citizenship and reaffirming the sovereignty of the people of this nation. It also requires the restoration of the link between the people and political branches of the government so that both can become the defenders of the Constitution and the country. Remember, your vote matters, but your voice and being actively involved in civics in your community is even more valuable. This year, the choice is clear. It's time for you and me to save the nation. Her best days, I believe, are still ahead, and together we can make all the difference to our next great American century. I'm Tamara Colbert from Mama Grizzly Radio. Tweet me this week at Tamara Colbert, hashtag Mama Grizz Radio. Have a blessed week.
Tamara Colbert in Texas. Tune in for more Liberty and Legacy next week. And to learn about Convention of States, head to conventionofstates.com. The Palin Update, including Liberty and Legacy and Steel Resolve, is on demand and available for download. So just head to mamagrizzlyradio.com, pick the show you want to hear, and you can listen anywhere, anytime. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. Visit mamagrizzlyradio.com for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. Also, like Mama Grizzly Radio on Facebook. And follow along on Twitter at Mama Grizz Radio, at Kevin Scholla, at Tamara Colbert, and at Sarah_Steelman. And I'm doing some writing for Breitbart News. Go to Breitbart.com and search Kevin Scholla. I want to thank Sarah Steelman, Tamara Colbert, and everyone here at Mama Grizzly Radio. Thanks to Carla Addesi. And thank you for listening today. A special thanks to our sponsor, Narrowgate Security Agency. Visit narrowgate.com. The Palin Update is produced by Lena Anderson, the Andy L. Kramer, and Lori Ann Lewis. Please be sure to join us again next time for another edition of the Palin Update right here on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day and happy Columbus Day.